Hello and welcome. You're tuned to the Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. Joined by usual suspects in studio, Paul Moati and Stephen Hunt. Morning, boys.
Morning, yeah.
So you got the league tops today?
Yeah,
Dolphins?
It was a bit of magic last weekend,
Sure.
and I'm sure that we'll hear a wee bit more of that very, very soon.
Some magics from Jason Paris.
Yeah. Give us a fair shake of the salve.
Yeah, that's all we want, right?
That's it, you know. There's no such thing as a 50-50 call in a Warriors game. It's an 80-20 call.
Now, what's this paraphernalia you've got here sullying up my desk?
Oh, that is the Lone Star Petone Quiz Cup. Yeah, that's right. It's a gathering of some of the greatest minds in Petone.
Gee,
And, they were short one, so I came in off the ballot.
Yeah, very good.
Up against multiple Group 1 winners, and I snuck through, still in the Maiden ranks.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
so-
well, congratulations.
Yeah,
A lot of honour obviously goes along with this.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Thaddeus.
North Sydney Bears. Oh, what a time.
Yeah, my old team in the 90s. Back in the day, I probably filled this jumper out a little bit more than what I do these days. But
Swimming in it.
Swimming in it, yeah. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Watched plenty of league over the weekend, but also the races. Te Rapa on a genuine heavy, roughly around about a heavy 8.5. But yeah, I thought there were some really good performances. The juvenile, which we'll touch on in more depth shortly. I thought Gospodin in the open sprint looks in for a deep winter.
Yeah.
Prismatic in the last race, and the rating 65 mile was very good, backed up by numbers as well. And also Mary Louise, interesting to see where she goes, whether she stays here or goes across to Brisbane in the next few weeks. But I thought the undercard, there were some horses to follow going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And Mary Louise was very good resuming, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. Look, she was scratched roughly 2 weeks ago, Ottawa Park, played up at the start, lost its jockey and did a couple of circles around the track. And no ill effect. They backed it up 7 days later at Te Rapa, and she was pretty solid in the market. Suggests she was ready to go forward off a very good trial win, and she got the job done. She was probably in the right position. She sat just outside the speed without cover, but it was a slow tempo up front, and they've sprinted home. But she's got progressive nature about her, and we saw that last prep.
100%. Let's head north. Brendan Popwell is a man that can talk about Magic Round because he was on the ground. How was your weekend, BP?
Yes, good morning, lads. It was long. It was a very long weekend. I guess one of the first things that we've put on our lessons learnt list for Magic Round 2024 is maybe we don't need to turn up on Thursday afternoon. That was certainly an effect of where you were really on the backup throughout Magic Round. So maybe we'll just turn up Friday afternoon next time before we have that early blowout. But in terms of the week itself, boy, it is an absolute incredible experience. Friday night Broncos, it was at full tilt when they were playing against the Manly Seals. I mean, the Broncos were just never losing that game. It was a match where the crowd was roaring and there was a lot of Broncos fans there. They basically just turned up for that match on the Friday night, and then throughout the week you certainly noticed that there were a number of visitors there. And when the Warriors played, there was more Warriors supporters, and the Australian supporters were with the Warriors as well through that Penrith Panthers match. It's just a shame that the referee wasn't quite on the same hymn sheet as everybody else in terms of just making sure that things could be a little bit consistent, but not to be anyway. But yeah, an amazing experience, and I would fully recommend it to anybody that wants to think about going. Definitely lock it in. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, wouldn't it be good in New Zealand? We need to get it over here, Pops.
Yeah, look, Eden Park seems to be the obvious. That they've held the nines before, so they've shown that they can hold a number of teams. I guess the one thing that Brisbane do well is that you go straight up Caxton Street, and there is a number of bars there. Post the last game, Suncorp, holds a number of people. It works well. So from that point of view, and the other thing too is the weather. Can we guarantee having a good weekend? Because it has to be around that May period where, Saturday afternoon it was 27 degrees. So they nail it from that point of view, and also with what happens after the rugby league with good luck trying to get into the Caxton Hotel. Wow, it's the place to be, but you do have to line up. So if you want to get there early, you have to leave the last game about 20 minutes before so you can actually get into the joint. So, a lot of fun. Went out to Redcliffe as well. Went and had a look at the Dolphins setup. Wow, what a leagues club that is. And of course, the Warriors spent a lot of time there through COVID. out of Redcliffe. Amazing joint if you ever get the time to head there as well. So went to a great merchandise store too and spent nearly $600 there. Hence why we've got the new kit with the Indigenous top.
jersey.
But yeah, it's a pretty good spot actually, and I can see why the Warriors enjoy their time in Redcliffe.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds like BP suggesting that Wellington should be the site of
Because of the
Magic Round, because
Well,
great weather.
Yeah.
Whole lot of bars leading up to the stadium.
That's true.
It's a transport hub
They
right
don't
there.
close it at Mount Eden down at 10 o'clock, do they?
No.
Like down here.
I like what BP said.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, you make some good points. Let's not talk about the weather currently, and hope wherever you are, you're getting through the weather concerns. Right, let's have a look at best bets last week. I don't know how we did. I think we've got a little package put together with our best bets. Let's have a look from last week.
He'll go to the stakes race at Te Rapa, the 2-year-old stakes race over 1,200 metres. Number 1, Solidify. Loved his win 7 days ago. Yes, the backup a slight concern, but I'm trusting the stable. Enough tempo in this race suggests he can get back to the last third, come to the outside, even with the rail out, and finish over the top of them.
Solidify is looking to come out after it now. Out wide, Glamour Tycoon and battling on also mow it down. Right there also is Salt Coats at the 150. Glamour Tycoon. Solidifies coming after it. Solidify on the inside. Got the lead for Ryan Elliott. Ooh, he could be very good, this horse. Solidify.
Steve, I think George summed it up there. Good win, and your best bet home there.
He's a good type, very progressive son of Redwood. Lightning strikes twice with the stable, obviously was sharp and smart 12 months ago, and it's hard not to make comparisons between the two. Just on that, when we saw there visually, look, it was very good on the numbers. He improved roughly around about 3/4 of a length from his win 7 days prior at Te Rapa. I thought the second horse was very good, and Glamour Tycoon, she sat on speed without cover and ran on gamely for second. But look, back to the winner, Solidify. Hard to know where they go here. Do they have one more run then go to Brisbane? But they're thinking JJ Atkins, similar profile to Sharp and Smart 12 months ago. But look, in terms of trying to compare the two, I think just as a type, he's probably not as leggy as Sharp and Smart. He's more coupled type, and I think that's down on the pedigree on the dam side, being by Reduced Choice, the dam. You go back and it's a cap stab, the second mare. So look, I don't know if he's a derby type. He might have a little bit more brilliance than Sharp and Smart, possibly a genuine 2,000 metre horse. So we'll just see what unfolds in the next 12 months. I'm sure the camp will sort that out, Roger and the team. But yeah, very progressive 2-year-old/3-year-old next season.
Not bad, Pops.
Not bad at all. And as you said, heading down that same path potentially to a JJ Atkins. Early 2,000 guineas favourite? Would you say there, Stephen, with what we've seen?
Yeah, I don't want to diss Tokyo Tycoon. I think between the two of them, they'd be dominant in the market. Maybe Tokyo Tycoon fraction fave. But yeah, look, both of them look to be clear standouts. Whatever they did as a 2-year-old will be a bonus heading into the 3-year-old year.
Okay.
Saltcoats into third, not the worst either.
No, it was a good second up there.
Still a maiden, so it can pinch a maiden race in the next few weeks if they want to.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't see your best bet in the package. It was a package of one there. Now Pops was away, so we were giving him it. You didn't feature in the best bet package. What happened?
Fair dinkum. I'm having a Barry Crocker. Mate, I like it on top of the ground. You know me, Thad.
Yeah, sure. You're not a winter man, really, are you,
geez.
ideally?
One drop of rain and I'm heading for the couch.
Go well in the dry.
Yeah, just stay away from me at the
Well,
moment.
you're still out at 46% in the like. So
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Thad.
Yeah. What was I thinking? Yeah, very good. Okay, Pops was away last week, Steve, so we're going to come to you for Maidener of the week. Who did you find for us this week?
You go to Otaki, I think it was this day last week, maiden over 1,400 metres for the fillies and mares. You'll see here, right to the outside, a horse of the name of Hi Yo Sass Bomb. Right down the outside. Look, came into this race off a really strong maiden event. Look, I think the first three you can follow. The second horse out of the ladder team is progressive, and obviously the third horse was the favourite leading into the race out of the Patterson stable. I think they put a margin on the rest of the field, so I don't want to be following too much outside the top three, but definitely Hi Yo Sass Bomb is one worth following. I believe it's in on Saturday, possibly at Taranaki, and will be in the market there. But look, it came out of the right race. I want to touch the race that it did come out leading into Otaki. It was a maiden 1,400, which Regal Dice won. And Regal Dice won the previous event leading into Otaki, so the form was franked 40 minutes prior, but Regal Dice won. Aguirre was second, Tequila Spirit was fourth, Charlie Chuckle was fifth, and Hi Yo Sass Bomb was sixth. Now, all those horses I've mentioned went on to win their very next start, including Regal Dice at a 65 grade. So you don't come across too many maidens like that. It slipped through the guard in terms of a maiden of the week, but the first 5 out of the 6 home won their next start. So, yeah, progressive maiden. But I think going back to the Hi-Yo Sass Bomb, it's one worth following and right in commission for tomorrow's assignment.
Yeah, okay. It would have been nice to know about that maiden prior to them all going out. Yeah, and see if you can work on that for next time.
Yeah, some of them are easier after a few weeks down the track. But, yeah, incredible just the amount of wins that have been produced from their next start.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Good maiden of the week to follow. Hi-Yo Sass Bomb. Okay, guys, Rotorua and obviously New Plymouth on Saturday. We're going to focus in on Rotorua first, Steve, but let's talk about track conditions. I guess we have to talk about track conditions. What's happening there in Rotorua?
Yeah, it's a sticky one. Obviously, we've had the abandonment at Matamata today, so we'll just see what unfolds around Rotorua Park. I think there's going to be a track inspection at some stage today. Hopefully they run. Look, the rail's back in the true position. The last meeting was on the 28th of April. It was a heavy 8, and the rail was out 8 metres. So it goes back to the true, so there'll be some new fresh strip for the first 6 to 8 metres off the rail. Heavy 10, it was a heavy 8 yesterday, so we obviously had some rain between now and 24 hours ago. So a heavy 10, I don't think it's going to come back to that, even with little rain to speak of. So there's little rain today and little rain tomorrow, but it's going to be that holding, puggy, heavy track. But hopefully it goes ahead because it's got a nice card at Rotorua Park.
Yeah, okay. Race number 7 is the first race we want to have a look at, Steve. It's the Rotorua ITM Stakes. Group 3 weight for age for the fillies and mares. Best
bet runner is the favourite in Sumi out of the Sherlock stable. 450 set trading there at 3.8, accounts for 35% of the turnover. Farrellione in that second line got as short as 550, just back out to the opening price of $6. Oscillata double figures during the week. On Wednesday when betting commenced at $11, now trading single figures $8.50. Synchronised bouncing between $8.50 and $9 with Wessex. Sweet Janine resumes here $10. Chikira Lass $12, got as high as $14, back into $13. I'm a Rocker B at a $13 price off a shortener of 10 resumes here, so friendless. And best of the rest is on the prowl 13s with Oniroa. So pretty compressed market in that middle range, but they're pretty keen on the Alan Sherrick, Michael McNair combo in number 8, Sumi.
Okay, you would have had a crack at speed mapping this for us. How do you see the speed unfolding here?
Busy.
Very busy.
I've got Wessex leading the 3-year-old filly. Look, in her trial, she just took a sit, and we'll see that trial visually in the next 5 to 10 minutes, but I do think she'll be positive out of the machine. Sweet Janine, who likes to go forward with Chikira Lass. Farrellione should get an ideal position, a little bit of cover just off speed. On the prowl, sticky gate, but I think they'll try and negate that by going forward early. Sumi the fave has drawn barrier 1. It's a horse that has low tactical speed, but if they can get somewhere around that midfield range, I think the key with McNabb aboard will be looking to get off that rail at the back end of the card. Miss Cartier should get a nice run there, and you've got the back markers and Sassy Merlot, Lily Thunder, Oscillata have all drawn wide gates, will probably default to the last third, but tempo should be even with the likes of Wessex, Sweet Janine and Shakira Lass in the field.
Yeah, okay, BP, look, Sumi, she's been super consistent over the last wee while. The win 3 starts ago was very impressive, Awapuni, but it's the run last start at Te Rapa that we're going to have a look at, and it was equally impressive, really. Didn't know where it was going at the 600, but finished on very strongly.
Yeah, look, she brings good form into the race, doesn't she? And she's performed, you know, even her run 2 starts ago, things didn't go her way with that slip saddle underneath Tony Davies, and still actually ran a really good figure in that race. So she's been super this campaign, and she gets into her work. She really builds into this race, doesn't she, over the 1,300 metres, and sprouts wings here, and then it's just Waido Cove who comes from behind Sumi, who bombs her right on the line. So look, big run from her. I do have the one question mark with her in being a real genuine heavy tracker. She's a horse who has won on a heavy surface. How much is she going to like what she cops on the weekend? We'll find out. Look, we've got the right man who prepares the horse and also the right man aboard. So, as you mentioned with the barrier draw, it could be a little bit sticky because she is slow away, but maybe that will be her best friend, is that she is slow away and can work away from the fence, because you'd imagine by the time we get to this race, they're coming out by ridges and looking to the outside fence and looking to try and widen into the race. Yes, there's a lot of fresh ground closer to the rail, but how long is that going to last, and before we start looking for tyre marks out wide? So that's going to be the key to the race. we're in an unknown zone if that's going to happen right now, but you'd imagine by the time we get to race number 7, that will be the case.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Look, Paul, the second favourite here, Faraglione, was good at Otaki last start, impressive, and got the job done at a short quote. Oniroa was also in this race.
Yeah, and I think Faraglione, look, she loves the 1400 metres well. I don't. She's really been out of the money when running over 1400. So the heavy track will suit as well, I think. She was back to her winning ways here at Otaki, and just had to keep fighting down the straight as well. Oniroa gave her a real good go, but she showed she's tough and she's ready to go. So, yeah, Faraglione, a fair dinkum chance.
Sit and sprint, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I think McNabb almost went too slow, and it really became a sit and sprint, a bit of a lottery. And she was a little bit flat-footed in the last 400, but the last 200 was her best. Last 200 was the quickest of the race, obviously, and on the quickest of the meeting, which I like to see. If it's a sit and sprint, you want to be doing their best work in the last furlong and a sharp last 600 overall. So it suggests that she could probably perform at a higher level if the race is run at an even tempo, Faraglione. But you would have thought, BP, that McNabb had the choice. Sumi, Faraglione, he's opted for the Sherlock runner.
You would have thought so, yeah. I'm guessing he's gone with this horse that he was on last time to the races. But yeah, I'm guessing there's not a lot between them, really, is there? And the one thing with Faraglione's barrier draw is that it's actually a draw where it could really suit her. I think the fact that she's drawn out is a good spot for her. And she is a horse that gets through the wet ground. She has the genuine heavy track form as opposed to Sumi. So there are some good factors around her being a strong leading chance in the race. And I guess with where she sits in the marketplace, that tells you as well. So, yep, on the back up, I'm not concerned about. We saw her winning on the last day of the Hawke's Bay Spring Carnival, where she was really well spruiked. Or was it a 65 that she won over 1,400 metres? So, yeah, I think she's a live chance in the race and deserved second favourite. McNabb had the choice. I guess he did, and he's gone with Sumi.
Yeah, no, fair enough. To look, Steve, when in these weight for age fillies and mares races, it's often we look to the highest rated mares in the race, and Oscilleta, potentially a forgotten runner here, coming out of an Easter, which was a little bit disappointing on face value, but going back to this third 4 starts ago.
Yeah, this is 4 starts ago, so you have to wind back the clock a touch. It was the back end of last year, but look, you can make it comparable in terms of the conditions of the race. This was against the boys, weight for age, 1,400 metres on a heavy track. You see Oscilleta just coming off heels at roughly the 250, coming down the outside in the red and the yellow, the China stable colours. But look at the horses that finished in front of it. You've got Darcy Labella winning, Coventina Bay second, beating horses of the likes of Belclair, which has gone on to win a Group 1 Tiato Breeders, and Brando, who's won 2 or 3 on the back end of his campaign as well. So, look, in terms of the form bouncing out of that race, I know it was a fair time ago, but if she can run anywhere near that figure she produced, running third in the Manawatu Challenge Stakes, she's going to be hard to topple. She's going to be hard to topple. The only drama around her, she can be very in and out, but I think she has conditions to suit. She's drawn a wide gate, which is no negative for a horse that gets back to the last third. She'll just stalk at the back end of the field, look to blend into the race at the right time, come to the outer part, which could be advantageous at the back end of the day. She just probably has to run within a length and a half of what she produced running third in that vision we saw there, and she'll be one of the ones to beat.
Okay, well, $8.50 around Oscilleta. Paul, Wessex. Andrew Forsman resumes the 3-year-old filly with down on 55. The trial looks like it's fit itself for this, and it'll love the heavy track.
It certainly will. Well, her mum and dad love the cut out of the ground, by Turn Me Loose out of trepidation. She, as you say, she's the only filly in the race. She's back after a break, and obviously she wasn't a Hundy in the Karaka Million Classic. Previous to that, she ran third to Legato and Skew Whiff in the 8 Carat. Yeah, she's one that I've got marked, and she's on the drift. I don't mind that at all.
No, exactly. It's interesting. And the other one that coming through the trials, BP Sweet Janine, putting together a reasonable horses record. Royden Burgesson travels this one up, and the trial one says it's somewhere near the mark as well.
It is, and look, a horse who's drawn out in a wide barrier draw, that shouldn't be an issue. This was a trial that was a couple of weeks ago now out of Foxton. She considered herself close to tempo. She won't mind the track conditions. She's performed in a fresh state. So, look, I really do think this is a race that is open to a number of chances. And I guess with the track condition being as heavy as it's going to be, are you looking for horses that have had recent runs on the board? Are you looking for runners that have had that rock hard racing? And there are a couple here that are resuming it, along with Sweet Janine. And then are you then having to look into the heavy form and really dive in to find horses that can go on heavy 10 and beyond? Because this could be not, and that's a key thing to look out for, is a heavy 8 is a lot different to a heavy 10 plus. So that's the concern I have with Sumi. I think she is the horse to beat. I'm going to make her my top selection with just a little bit of trepidation with barrier draw and just with how heavy that track's going to be. I think on pure class she has the ability to win a black type race and run well in a black type race, because I think she's got that sort of potential in her. But horses like Oscilleta, Faraleone, that I'm definitely thinking about saving on, because I think Oscilleta is the one horse where the horse is drawn out wide, is a genuine group performer. We've seen her perform at a very good level on wet ground, and as Stephen said, she just might be the one that's trying to swoop over the top. Other horses to keep on side. Sanibel has got no form. It's got a couple of donuts in her form line, but she's a lot better than that. Of course, she produced a win in the Tauranga Classic at massive odds at around $48. Now, she's drawn down low. I would love to have seen her drawn out wide if she was able to make the most of trying to get to those tyre tracks, but just could be one to try and help your trifectas and first falls out. There's a lot of horses in this race that have that sort of form line of looking for wet ground. So, yeah, overall, I think it's a really competitive Rotorua Stakes.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And the market sort of reflects that, Paul, doesn't it? It's, BP's with Sumi, but wants to be around Oscilleta maybe as a saver, Sanibel as a roughie. What are you thinking here?
I'm thinking along similar lines. It's very hard to look past an Ellen Sherlock runner that looks as fit as a fiddle. Michael McNabb aboard. So yeah, I've got Sumi on top as well, but I will be playing around with Wessex and Sweet Janine.
You got Sweet Janine in your numbers?
I do indeed.
Yeah, okay. She was good, wasn't
Be a
she?
good training feat for those two, because they resume here as BP's alluded.
Yeah,
so you're trusting they're up to the mark. It's not going to be easy on a holding track. Just on Sumi and the fluctuations at Te Rapa, and we spotted this and mentioned it a couple of times when it ran an unlucky placing last start, Sumi, but the fluctuations, it was heavily punted during the week. Got as short as $3.40 on race day, and the last 5-10 minutes was very soft and got back out to $5. So it'll be interesting to see the fluck around Sumi. The profile getting well played on Thursday and Friday, and also Wednesday afternoon, 4.15 to 3.80. Are we going to see a similar hold in its price and potentially drift closer to race start time? Well, that remains to be seen, but just take note that it was a little bit easy at last start at Te Rapa. And I went back and just looked at the ratings, because I notified that the highest rated horse is Oscilleta of a rating 85. You go back since this race was introduced on this date back in 2007. This is the first time this edition of this race, the Rotorua Stakes, where there hasn't been a horse rated above 90. And Oscilleta was clearly the highest rated for Saturday's assignment with 85. It's basically a glorified rating 80. So again, that trends to me picking Oscilleta as the best bet in this race, and which is, I'll concede, an open event.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no. I just want to touch on Synchronise, because I has had one start, one win on the course, and I believe it was a pretty devastating.
I think it was this day last year as a 3-year-old. Yeah.
It's in the market, Steve, Synchronise.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the heavy track. I think it would have been suited to that soft range Synchronise. Hard horse to identify. I'm not sure what its sweet spot is. They were looking to go possibly 1600 earlier this year. They've kept it fresh over sprinting trips. It can rely on tempo and luck at running. I'm just not sure where the horse is at in terms of its best race shape and setup and distance, etc. But look, it's got talent, and there's no knock there, because when it wins, it's quite devastating. And I'm not sure. There's just too many variables against it for it to get my money.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, team, let's move it along. Campbell Infrastructure Rotorua Cup is race number 5 on the card over the 2,200 metres, Stephen. Wide open, let's say that.
5.50 the field. Enchanted Owl heads the market. 6.50 into $5.50. Happy Star 6.50 out of turn to $7. I've had a couple of scratchings also. Lincoln King's just come out, I see notified here. But St. Alice, who was the original favourite at $6 on Wednesday, is now trading at $7 in that second line. Far Sight, here's a go, 13 into 850 for Peter Didham, travelling from the CD to the north. Leaderboard, 12 and a point to 11, shares the same price as the stablemates, the Mighty Spa. Poser, bouncing between 12 and 11. Wordsworth, back up over a suitable trip, 16 and a couple of turns to 14. Was the bottom price of $12 yesterday. Littram Lad, 12 out to 15. The Mere, 12 out to 16. Hit the road Jack, 18 was Suleiman, who has been a previous winner of this event. And Levita Vishvi, best of the rest, at $18. So there's a few ways of playing it there and dissecting the form, but in terms of the best firmers, number 12 Far Sight, Fluck 13 into 850 and Enchanted Owl 650 into 5.5.
Look, at BP we've got sort of 15 odd horses here between $5.50 and $21. But so she's a bit of a dart job, as they say. But let's talk about Far Sight and Enchanted Owl to come out of that Hastings rating 87 where they ran second and third and both good runs. And I think the Mare was also in that race as well.
And unlucky too. I think this is a really good video, in fact. And you can see why Far Sight's taken the money at the price that was posted. I'm really impressed by the third horse in this race, an Enchanted Owl, and she is now the favourite for the race at $5.50. Yeah, I think I'm really taken by Enchanted Owl. I like the fact she'll get a wetter ground because this was, soft 5, so you can double that to a heavy 10. She looks right on song with going to 2,200 metres and running through the line. Look, LJ is a very good start. LJ is the premium staying form, and we'll see the horse again on the weekend. But that race should hold up. Far Sight good, the Mare unlucky, a horse you can get through wet ground. Pretty keen to be sticking close to that form, to be honest with what we've seen there out of Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, Far Sight.
They fed and walked.
Yeah, right.
The initial stages.
98.32 to the 600, 20 lengths slower than the rating 65.21 on the same day. So
they crawled.
And the only query is wasn't much of a fitness level getting to a stage where it's going to be a very tough 2-2 tomorrow at Ottawa Park. So it was almost like a barrier trial for a lot of those stayers. They've dawdled to the 600, sprinted home, electric last 600, which was understandable given the shape of the race, but just not sure it was the total lead-in race that you'd be wanting heading into a very tough 2-2 tomorrow at Ottawa Park. But look, they have to be the major contenders, there's no doubt about it. Just going on their overall profile and what they've produced this season.
You would have liked the $12 around Far Sight, wouldn't you, if you could get a hold of it?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. I can understand why the money's come as well, now into $8.50. I thought that was a lovely run by her, and well, Enchanted Owl as well. The amount of ground she made up from the back when she had no real right to, I thought was nothing short of sensational. So I really do like the look of those two coming out of that race. Where was it? Hawke's Bay, Enchanted Owl and Far Sight.
Yeah, okay, you sound like you're really warming to it. Look, the other second favourite in the race, or joint second favourite, is St. Alice, Paul, and brings Rotorua Stakes form here. It ran a gallant third.
And that's the thing, Rotorua Stakes. So a much stronger field in the Rotorua Stakes than what she meets here. Warren Kennedy's on. Look, I thought she had the run of the race here in the Rotorua Stakes. But I was hoping for a little bit more, but to be fair, she has to be in there somewhere off the back of this run. Yeah, she just kept coming as well. And I don't think the conditions will be against her too much. Yeah, she's
She can handle the heavy, do you? St. Alice?
I think she can.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. But the other race I want to have a look at, Steve, is the rating 75 at Te Rapa, which featured Lettram Lad, who won the race. The Mighty Spa, I think, hit the road jacks in here as well. So this is worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I think the one horse that I'd be pretty keen out of these three heading to tomorrow's assignment is the Te Akau runner, the Mighty Spa. Again, a race shape which you'll see there graphically. They've walked to the 600, they've sprinted home well above open class figures, 3.5 lengths above that class. And the class rating was pretty good too, you see there in the green. But look, the Mighty Spa against the race shape was the one at the back half of the field. And you see there the late splits. Look, it was the best last 400 of the meeting. And comfortably the last furlong was in the top 10 overall in the meeting against horses that were producing sharp sectionals over distances short of best, or over 1,200-1,400 metres. So, look, I gather that in terms of the race shape, it was set up for a horse to come off speed and run some really good closing sectionals, but at the end of the day, it was still over 2,400 metres. So I think the Mighty Spa deserves to be in that middle range at low teens.
Geez, BP, look, we haven't even mentioned horses like Happy Star, Leaderboard, the Wellington Cup winner, Wordsworth, Poser looks progressive, so basically sums this race up, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, let's talk about Happy Star. I mean, Happy Star's 2 from 2 over the hurdles, won the Grand National hurdles by 16 lengths when last time over the jumps, and then has come back this preparation and run a boomer third in an Anzac Mile. And here the horses is one of the favourites for the Rotorua Cup. And yes, the horse is trained by KT Myers. Boy, alarm bells are ringing here, because you know that this horse is going to absolutely cop the track condition. I am very, very worried about this horse in this race. It's a horse I want to keep very close to any sort of exotic bet, quaddy bet, because you just have to have him. You really do. He is a genuine mudder and an absolute star over the jumps, is Happy Star. So he actually creates a lot of interest in this race, doesn't he? Leaderboard, as you said, won in a Wellington Cup that was in testing conditions over 3,200 metres. Of course, they are looking at jumping him this year as well, Leaderboard. You've got the Mighty Spa, who's already had a jumping race, and you've got Suleiman, runner number 15, who looks talented in that role too, who's back first up this campaign, a former Tamaranui Gold Cup winner. Yeah, this race has some interesting depth through it in terms of horses to look out for the rest of the winter, and horses that might be able to run a cheeky race in a Cups race. So, yeah, I like Enchanted Owl overall, but boy, Happy Star is also going to get some of mine.
Yeah, I'm with you there around Happy Star, BP.
If anyone wanted a heavy 10.
Yeah, exactly, and Kevin Myers loves Rotorua too. He always has success there, doesn't he, Paul?
To be fair, there's not too many courses around New Zealand
It's a
where he
good
doesn't
point.
have success.
You make a solid point. How'd you sum up the race, or summarise the race?
I do like the two mares, Farsight and Enchanted Owl.
Okay.
I'm going to stick with those two.
Okay, so you like that Hawke's Bay form there?
I do,
That race?
yeah.
Is there anyone we haven't touched on here, Steve, before we push on, that we need to mention?
Look, the one I'd be playing would be number 16, Poser. Okay. Just want to dive into her form a little bit more. First 2 runs back off a 105-day freshen up. She was third at Avondale over a distance short of his best, 1,600 metres, and stepped up rapidly to the Manawatu Breeders over 2,000. And she just got back in an awkward position the last third. She had to cover ground. The day overall at Aupuni that day played up and in. It was advantageous to horses on speed, so I thought her run held merit, and she ran comparable closing splits to St. Alice out of the Manawatu Breeders. I think there's a sense of timing around number 16, Poser. She sits on the minimum 53 kilograms. She's won on this course at this distance on a heavy track last November, and we know it can be a bit of a horse for course, Ottawa Park, Poser. I can see that was 65 grade, and she's stepping up to open class here, but off the minimum, I can see her running above any expectations, Poser. I've probably got her at a nice 1x3, 1x4 kind of play.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Like it's Paul with Farsight and Enchanted Owl, BP with Enchanted Owl and Happy Star. Money for Leaderboard for the Te Akau team there, ahead of the Mighty Spa. And Farsight's been the short in a 12 into 8.50. So we've mentioned
half
about
the field.
Yeah, exactly. We need to box about 8 or 9, I think, to get the trifecta. What do you think?
We're going to have to go short in another quaddy league.
Yeah, very short in another quaddy league. Who knows which one it'll be? Okay, team. Race number 2 on the card. The Sherlock Contracting 3-year-old over the 1,400. Steve, and run us through. I like this race. You better declare your interest here, boys, straight off the bat.
I think a lot of viewers would know that already, but look, there's at least half a dozen single figures. Kabuki heads the market, $4.80 into $4, well found in the first 48 hours of trading, in front of Dusty Road, who's the second best back runner. Opening that third line at $5.50 is intercepted into that second line above Accidental Tourist, $5.50 into 4.5. On the 2, $5.50 now trading off the original price of $5. Leadox $5.50 out of 4 point to 6.5. Inca Bell similar profile, $6.50 out to 7.5. Caledoni 8. Carrigan at $8.50 in double figures around our turn, 11 to 10. and also Stellani Bell at a $14 price. So, look, there's 4 or 5 that have been well played, but the best back runners have been at the pointy end, the 1 and the 3, the 3 and the 1.
Okay, just for transparency, Steve, you didn't have anything to do with assessing this marketplace as well before?
No,
Yeah.
no. Small share in Kabuji, so I left this alone and left it up to the other team.
Well, speaking of small shares, Kabuji Paul came back with a win. I mean, it was good to see because it's a talented type. He looked very promising. And the win at Awapuni suggests he's back in commission here.
Yeah, it was a nice win here, and of course Caledoni's in the same race and runs runner-up to Kabuji. He's also won at Ottawa Park before, and Rotorua, it's a sort of a horses for courses type track.
We had to get it in
Drinks.
Just look, the heavy 10 isn't ideal, to be fair. And if you look at his stats, he's had 4 starts at 1,400 metres without finishing in the top 3. So there's a few marks against him there.
And that was against some very good.
Just about, that was in the Uncle Remus and the Bone Crusher. So there were some top class 3-year-old fields that he ran against.
He had a flat spot there, and he's done that a few times in his races. He was first up that day, carried a big weight on a heavy track, which he was exposed to for the first time, but he hit a flat spot at roughly around the 800 metre mark, and Jonathan Parks had to get busy on Kabuji, and I think he's one of these horses, and he's shown it in track work, he can be a little bit lethargic and teasy a little bit, only just does what is required, and I think a strong jockey is what's needed for Kabuji, and we've had Opie Bosson on. Obviously we weren't able to have Opie because he's over in Adelaide chasing Group 1 glory, but Warren Kennedy is a strong jockey, and I'm sure he'll know that this horse can hit a flat spot, in particular on a heavy track, and he might look a bit flat-footed. Don't be alarmed, he'll keep giving. But again, he's first time exposed on a different sort of heavy. Alpini was a little bit cut up, a little bit loose, and we're going to strike what we think is going to be holding on Saturday.
Hopefully race 2, still the track's not too bad, and as you said, the rail was out 8 metres last time, so there might be a wee bit of
Nice strip for your man, Kabuji.
Wow. But yeah, look, as the odds suggest, it's a fairly open field.
No, it is. It's a lovely betting race, BP. And Mark Walker holds a strong hand here. An Accidental Tourist is a horse that will relish the conditions, you would think. And the last start, third, suggests he's on song.
Yeah, definitely. And look, the win 2 starts ago was enormous, wasn't it, from Accidental Tourist, when been slow away and still been able to gather them in. I wonder with what you've just mentioned there, and I think a key point with these early races is the fresh ground, and the fresh ground's going to play a part. I have no doubt in that with the track being as wet as it's going to be, saving ground and being on what potentially could be the quickest ground for a few races is going to be gold dust, I think, for these first few races. And I do think it plays into a key runner in this race by the name of Dusty Road, runner number 3. Couple of kilos coming off the back. A horse who can lead is drawn in barrier number 1. Kelsey Hannon, great to see Kelsey back riding off the back of her injury. This is a horse who will eat the ground. He is an absolute mutter. You only have to go back to his win out of Mudda on a heavy 10, where he smashed them by 4 lengths. Now, he, of course, has then gone on to run in a Group 1. They rolled the dice. Why not? Got a horse that's a 3-year-old that just won a big race by a big margin. So they had a shot at the Levin Classic, and he was beaten in that race, but he was still able to beat home 5 horses. This is his effort last time to the races. And look, it was a race where he was keen, he was taken on, he's got to the front, and he's just been swallowed up in the last little bit. I just wonder if he can get this race on his terms a touch. Boy, I reckon he could be very hard to peg back in this race. I'm hoping you boys can win with Kabuji, so I'll be looking at playing a Quinella. If Kabuji sits in that right spot alongside this horse in Dusty Road, there's no reason why they can't run the Quinella.
He will love it, Dusty Road, boys. Steve?
Yeah, he will. Yeah. Deserving second favour. Might even challenge that top line. I think it's just, as what BP said, it's just a nice setup for him. That new strip of ground, he's put him to barrier 1. It looks awfully hard to beat, and he's the genuine heavy tracker, where I think Kabuji just comes back to the pack. He's got the best figures, Kabuji, running a lot of stakes races around Christmas time, but as we know, the heavy tracker's leveler.
Yeah, okay. 2 Maideners, last start Maiden winners, I should say, come into this race. Down the bottom of the market here, Our Turn, and obviously Styliani Bell, and they were both impressive. They raced on the same day, Steve. I think we've got the replay of Our Turn, but they were both looking progressive types. This is Our Turn here.
Yeah, it was good on speed, Our Turn. The money was on this day. I think it came in significantly from its original price by 3 or 4 rolls. You see there they've gone along, so there was an opportunity for a horse to come off the back and finish over the top of this individual on Our Turn. Look, Billy Pinn does the riding. Craig Grills gets off this individual. Look, it'll put itself in the race as well. Drawn barrier 6. I think Billy will show some intent for the first furlong or two. But I do want to compare it to another maiden who won on the same day in Styliani Bell. Look, this horse, even though it was over 1,400 metres, we saw there Our Turn winning over 1,200 metres. But if you dissect the two maiden performances on numbers, Styliani Bell rated 2.5 lengths superior and has already ticked that 7 furlong box. Look, it produced the best 8.642 in her maiden race, and she had to do it from on speed, so she got a sticky gate that day, and Lindsay opted to go forward and find the paint, find the rail and lead. And again, they've gone at even tempo, and she's run home the best closing split, so to do that up front adds merit in the victory, Styliani Bell. And again, I think she puts herself, if not leading, v Dusty Road, she's going to put herself in the first 2 running. I think if I was doing this map here, and I know it's small data for a lot of these 3-year-olds still, I've got Dusty Road and number 9 Styliani Bell 1 and 2 in the map. I think she's the overs in the race at $14. She's the ranky, but it's not a massive overs in terms of the congested nature of the market. But look, I think there's potential she could start single figures, Styliani Bell, purely on just way she maps here. I think she's the horse I want to be hovering around Kabuji and Dusty Road and exotic bet types. And yeah, I just feel she's the one that's representing a little bit of value, because I'm not seeing it around the 2 and the 3, the 3 and the 2. I do think Kabuji's got potential to start under $4. But again, we'll just see what unfolds in the first race or so. But on Accidental Tourist, BP, where do you line this horse up? Because it was able to use a gate last start. It's got barrier 9. It gets the services of McNabb, so that will gravitate punters heading towards the 2. It can be a low percentage play often when it's drawn a wide gate, gets back. Sometimes can be a little bit tardy. I think the key around Accidental Tourist is dropping back and trip. It got an ideal run at Te Rapa, and its last 200 was the weakest on its race. I think back to 1,400 suits. Do you agree there? Or
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think 1,400 is a massive assist. Small field, they might be able to tick along a bit, and maybe he can just try and produce his last run. Now, is the race going to pan out? As I said beforehand, is the day going to be set up for that type of runner by the time we get to race number 2, if the race is controlled well enough up front by those that are closer to the rail and in that fresh ground? So, yeah, I'm finding it hard to try and work out where he can fit in, but I think the 1,400 metres is a good spot for him. He has no issue with heavy ground. We've seen him perform in, he ran 3rd in a Wanganui Guineas as well, didn't he? And he won the race prior, so he has no issue with the ground. He just might get back in a sticky spot with it back sort of last, second to last, over 1,400 metres, where you've got some of your main dangers like Styliani Bell, as you mentioned, and also Dusty Road in a more forward position. So, yeah, I find him hard to work out where I want him. The other horse in the race too we probably need to mention is Leadox. Now, this is a horse who has won just the one race, and of course it was a stakes winner this time last year for Leadox when winning over 1,400 metres. It's a runner that has shown that it's got a likiness for soft ground and moves into that heavy bracket. I thought the run was okay. First up and behind the racketeer over the 1,400 metres. He looks to be a natural improver. There's been a sprinkling of cash around that horse at the 650, so drawn well, potentially can sit close enough to them. Probably a danger as well. So
You're nodding, Paul. Leadox?
Yeah, he's had his issues, hasn't he, unfortunately, but that run to start this campaign I thought was very, very good. And as BP said, he'll take a lot of natural improvement out of that. So, yeah, it's a wonderful betting race.
Yeah, tell us how you're going to have a bet then.
Well, yeah, I'll have Kabuji in there somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
He's getting a wee bit short for mine at $4
Really?
now. Yeah.
Okay.
Track's got you worried a bit.
It has a wee bit. I like BP. I do like Dusty Road as well. The heavy just will be absolutely home for Dusty Road. And if Kelsey can get him it might be just a wee bit too. He might just be a wee bit too good. So, Yeah, Kabuji, Dusty Road, and I'm not going to throw Leadox away. I was impressed by that fresh up run.
Sounds like you might be somewhere similar here, BP, in this one.
Yeah, I do like Dusty Road. I'm pretty keen to have a bet now, actually, at 4.5. I think this is a horse who can sit in the right spot, and even if Styliani Bell comes over and wants to pressure, look, I'd be happy if they even take a trailing spot with Dusty Road, if that is to pan out that way. I just feel as though he's going to be in that right spot to be a major competitor, and yeah, have no issue with him coming back in distance as well, because this is a very testing track. So 1,400 metres, he's won over that distance, yes, and have no issue with him coming back to the 1,400, because you'd imagine it's going to be run sort of similar to a 1,600 metre race. So yeah, I think he's a good bet.
And Styliani Bell might be a nice little Quinella include if BP's map or your map's sort of accurate here.
Yeah, I'll be hoping Kabuji, obviously. I think the punters will gravitate towards the top two. They'll be very firm. I can't see them drifting anytime soon. So that middle market might ease a touch, the likes of Leadox, Inkabel, Caledoni, and obviously number 9, which I've already touched on, Styliani Bell. She's definitely the 1x3 kind of play in this race, and the saver around Kabuji and Dusty Road.
Okay, intriguing little betting race, that one, the 3-year-old. Race number 5 at New Plymouth. We're going to have a look at it in a minute, but let's talk about track conditions, Steve, for New Plymouth. Are we playing on anything better?
Well, let's have a look. I'll just bring it up the latest on the NZTR website. I love racing. Heavy 10, rail out 3 metres. I've had 2 mils of rain in the last 24 hours. So again, it's been reasonable weather, and I think the weather's supposed to continue to be okay for the next 24 hours, and in particular on race day. But look, the rail out 3 metres, it's a heavy 10, so it's going to be that holding surface very much like Rotorua Park. Yeah, so look, okay card. How many races we got there? Scheduled 8 races with a couple open class races.
Okay, well, let's touch on one of those open class races. It's race number 5 on the card. The Eyes On Security 1,400 metres, and there's some great winter performers in this small field.
Small but selective. One bowl cat resumes here for the Patterson stable. 3:30 we posted on Wednesday and backed into $2.70. A lot of that action has been late Thursday and early doors Friday morning around the bowl cat, so significantly played the local. Ahead of Helena Baby, 3:30 got as high as 350, just back into the original price of 3.3. Tabby Court drawn the ace, 4.8 off the original 4.2. Aurora Rock, 650 out of turn to 7. Just asked me, 850 out to 9. And Deerfield, 850, now trading double figures at a $10 price. You'll see that change graphically. But Deerfield, the rank at a $10 price, compressed market, but clearly the best lead I can give is number 6, One Bowl Cat. Okay,
we'll be seeing these horses a fair bit over the next few months, BP, but One Bowl Cat's putting together a nice horses record, and the retrial for 4th looks like it was well held at the line.
Yeah, look, he's a horse that's very progressive in the wet. Went up to 2,000 metres and was very good. One Bowl Cat, so yeah, interesting to see this money move around this horse. Now, of course, they brought the runner north to the synthetic trials, which was held in the early part of May.
Where is it, Pop? Where is it?
Yeah, you'll find the horse at the back of the field here in torrential conditions, and yeah, it was good through the line. Look, it's interesting, that money, isn't it? And look, any local money, if it's either on a Sherlock horse or a Robbie Patterson horse, look, you stand up and listen, don't you? Yeah, if you're looking elsewhere in the race and you're not on One Bowl Cat, I guess you're a little bit concerned to sort of hear that type of money around the horse. Look, there's no doubt that he can win, and he showed it last campaign. I don't mind Helena Baby, and Helena Baby is a horse that I think is best ridden when put in the race, and showed that when winning over 1,400 metres. Of course, what was it, back over 2022 in this race, wasn't it? This is the Opanaki Cup that we're showing here, team. And that was when they just put him in the race and let him run and just kept on running. And they've got the right jockey aboard to be able to try and do something similar again in Sam Spratt. It's the second time that he'd won this race. And look, I remember talking to Donovan Mansour about this runner, because, of course, he rode the horse when he won in 2019 before the horse went to Hong Kong. And he spoke at length about that preparation where you just got to sort of kid to him and put him in front and let him roll, because he just keeps going. He'll just keep going for you. And at times they haven't quite been able to find that position with Helena Baby. But boy, when he does get in that rhythm, as he did on that occasion and went round at an enormous price, he is a very hard horse to peg back. So I don't mind him. I don't mind him in this race, and I like the fact that he's had a run under the belt before leaping onto the heavy 10 conditions.
when he can do that, boys, can't he?
He sort of reminds me a wee bit of Big Mike, who liked to go to the front, run them into the ground. He won a number of cups as well. Helena Baby, he's won a couple of Opuneki Cups. He's won a Rotorua Cup. Big Mike wasn't shy when it came to cup races, so...
We're going to miss him this winter, aren't we, Big Mike?
Yeah,
Has he retired, Big Mike?
Yep.
Sad loss. One of Pops' favourites, wasn't it?
Yeah, but just shades of Big Mike with Helena Baby for mine.
Shades of Big Mike.
Yeah.
High praise indeed.
Yeah, but look, one bold cat. First of all, Robbie Patterson.
Yeah, tick.
With the apprentice on, down to 51. 51.
Seal Butler's been going well too.
Exactly. One bold cat won't know what's going on. He'll be looking behind to check there's a jockey on board. 51 kilos, fair income. And the money's on. So, even though it's a small field, it's very hard to look away from the top two in the market. One bold cat and Helena Baby.
Yeah, okay. What about Helena Baby, Steve? Those Opuneki Cup wins have been good. Strike them on the right day, dangerous. Yeah,
I wanted to show that vision purely because of his record at the Nackies, 2 from 2, both being Opuneki Cup victories. Look, I think he's okay in the weights with the presence of Just Ask Me, who hits a rating of 98. It's just made it a touch compressed in the weights underneath the number 1, Just Ask Me. So, look, I don't think there's no negative 58. Sam Spratt, we know she can get the horses out of the machine. I think she'll show intent around Helena Baby, which BP mentioned is a positive. Look, I don't have him on top. I think the Bold Cat is clearly the horse to beat. We just wanted to see that initial money to see how forward it was on the back of that trial, which we saw in the rain. He's a good progressive horse, the Bold Cat. I'm not sure what his level is. Maybe we're talking about him in terms of an Opuneki Cup or a Winter Cup in a few months' time. Just on the Patterson stable, I just crunched a few numbers and just to see how he assessed in the last maybe 6 or 7 seasons. He's had 43 wins from 167 starters at a strike rate of 3.88. Now, I was looking back historically and trying to find trainers that had more than 40 wins with a lower strike rate, and I couldn't find one. Alan Sherrick, the last 2 or 3 seasons, been hovering 4 and change, which is phenomenal in itself. But to break that 4 and be under in terms of a strike rate is phenomenal. The only thing missing from Robbie, and I'm sure he'd be happy for me to mention this or admit himself, is that he hasn't had a stakes winner, so a listed or a group winner yet this season. So that's the only thing missing from his CV. Outside that, it's been a stellar performance, and he's just placing his horses beautifully, and that's why you've got to trust this horse first up in terms of the favourite. But if he can keep that under the 4 and maybe pinch a black type race between now and the 31st of July, that will finish off a stellar season.
Robbie Patterson, Paul. You don't have to say we all know you're a fan.
100%.
For good reason. He makes you money.
He certainly does.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
BP. Where are we going on the eyes on security? Eyes on security. I got it. 1,400 metres.
Well, the other thing too to mention is there is a lot of horses that do want to find themselves in a forward position. Like we've got Tavi Court, Deerfield. I mean, Deerfield's in the race, and we know where Deerfield likes to be as well. And look, he'll be a better horse for his first up run, Deerfield. You've got to catch him at the right time and find that he's in the right mood. But boy, when he is, we all know how awfully hard he is to peg back. Look, I find this a real trick race, to be honest with you. I will say that I think this is a race where, gee, you'd almost shrug your shoulders and go, "Hi, Just Ask Me's won it," or "Deerfield's won it." Yeah, of course they have. You know, like it's just one of those races where, I find it hard to try and nail down one. If you wanted me to say, pick one, please, I'll go with Helena Baby, but yes, this could be a trick race.
Yeah, okay.
No surprise. Watch a number of replays today where it's almost like nobody wanted the lead.
Yeah, now we've got...
Absolutely. This race, it won't be like that. No. This won't be a sit and sprint. There'll be some honest speed on.
Yeah, but in Robbie you trust, right?
100%.
One bold cat.
See, it did win a jump out during the week, Deerfield, which Chrissy likes doing. She likes to put her horses in a jump out or even a trial leading into a race on Saturday, but did win a jump out just to get its fitness levels up after a 1 run. Okay, very good. Going to be a competitive little race. Good to see one bold cat back at the races. Okay, team, let's go to the best bet time. Paul, we better wind it up. Where did you go for your best bet this weekend? I
went to Rotorua and I'm having a wee bit of it.
Yeah. You're plus 46, but you're in a sort of a slump for a man that's plus
in a
46%.
I've gone with Canny Man, trained by Lance O'Sullivan and Andrew Scott. Got the ace on board with a 3 kilo claim, so he gets down to 53. Look, he's been there or thereabouts lately, and I think he'll enjoy the heavy going. So Canny Man, race 4, 650 currently.
You like a bit of value, and that's probably why you don't have to strike as often. But when you strike, you get a big dividend.
Crikey, I better strike.
You better strike shortly. BP, best bet time for you, please.
I'll go to the last race at Rotorua on Saturday. I do like the chances of a horse by the name of the First Link. Boy, this horse was backed very, very strongly in the marketplace. Double figures, 15, somewhere around that mark, into around $6. They were clearly expecting a big run from the horse, and I do like the fact that this horse is second up on wet ground. I really do think he's a nice bet, and he will be drawn out well enough to be able to try and find the right tyre marks by the last race. So, Stephen, I like the First Link. I know you were taken by what the First Link did first up to the races as well at Avondale.
Yeah, I was very taken, and what was alarming was the firm, as you mentioned, BP. It was in that middle teens. I thought we'd get away with it, and we did, in retrospect, because basically it finished midfield, the First Link. You see the race here. It was in the green with the blue cap in the last third. A race that was dominated by On Speed. They didn't go hard to the 600. They've sprinted home, okay sectionals. But as you mentioned, just that concluding stages, the last 200 and through the line was the eye-catching part, and it was produced on a track that was around that soft 5. It wasn't wet enough for the First Link. His best figures have clearly been on the heavy track range. I think deeper the better. He'll get in the right spot in terms of his barrier draw. He comes off the bench. He's had that key scratching during the week.
Double best bet, is this what we're saying?
It's a double best bet,
Okay,
which I don't think we've had all season. So we're waiting for the last episode.
Got some weight.
Oh dear.
Yeah, surely we're going to stop it with BP and I on. But
16 domestic races on Saturday, and you two come up with the same. Fair.
Righto, boys, the First Link it is. Paulie, wrap it up for us. What do we need to know before we get out of here?
We've got our Twitter poll again this week, so head there and vote on the horse that you want boosted. Leave a comment. You'll go in the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. This week we've got Sporting Chance and Sumi at Rotorua, and LJ and Uranui at New Plymouth. Last week's winner was at Doonaki.
At Doonaki.
Doonaki? Doonaki?
Yeah.
Or Do'onaki, sort of like Brian Do'o.
Very good. And the bonus back blitz is on again, I presume.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
this is a great
we
time
all
to
know.
have the old bonus back blitz.
We all know.
There'll be a few scratchings. So you might get some small fields. Yeah, first 4 races at Rotorua, New Plymouth, Doomben, and Flemington. So you know
the drill. Yeah, okay, team. Well, look, we've got to get out of here, but this is going to be our last show for a little while, team. We're going to have a little winter hiatus. So, got to thank the trackside team. Got to thank Mark Wells. Got to thank Brad Joyce and all the team up there for trying to herd cats when it comes to producing the leg up. We're going to get out of here, but we're going to get a winter horse to follow before we go. We're going to be back in the early spring. We'll come to BP first. Thanks for all your efforts, BP. Winter horse to follow, please.
It's running tomorrow. It's in the Rotorua Cup by the name of Suleiman. He'll take his place there, but we have seen his talent over the jumps, and I think he's a really good jumper to follow out of the Nelson McDougall barn. So I'll go with Suleiman as my winter horse to follow. Okay, thanks, Pops, for all your efforts as always. Have a good weekend. Paul, where are you going? Winter horse to follow?
I'm going with the Peter Diddham stable. I'm going with Far Sight, also running tomorrow. And I think we'll see a good go.
Yeah, okay. We've already seen a good go on the with the money. Steve, winter horse.
Flower. Had a trial during the week, just a soft trial. Has a nice strike rate in terms of a winning percentage. 5 wins from 12 starts. Sits around a rating 81, so could be an Opunake Winter Cup type Royal Flower.
Okay, boys, we've said goodbye to BP. We're going to say goodbye to you. Thanks for all your efforts. Are we going to be back in the spring, Steve?
Who knows? Who knows? We need some sponsors.
We need
Come
we need some
Come
sponsors.
on in.
Yeah, very good. Okay, thanks for your efforts, boys. Have a nice little break. Enjoy the winter racing team, and we'll see you back in the spring on the leg up.